Here on earth anymore. We're talking about an awesome God. An awesome God who is, was, and shall be, and ever shall be. Our scripture this morning turn to 1 Samuel chapter 17. 1 Samuel chapter 17, verses 45 through 47, as they were read this morning. This is the familiar scripture, or the familiar account of David just before he's getting ready to battle Goliath. We know that David was a shepherd. He was out tending the sheep in his father's field, simply doing what his father had asked him to do. His father had asked him to tend the sheep. David was out there tending the sheep. And he had been for some time. Long enough for God to have been able to demonstrate in David's life just how awesome and powerful that God is. To show David that even in doing what seems to be a menial, overlooked, unwanted task, God could show himself to David in a real and true and awesome way that let David know that God was real. That let David know that God is able in his life. So as David is out there tending the sheep, the armies of Israel are facing the army of Philistine. Though the army of Israel was a mighty army, mighty because they had God behind them. They had God with them. They had the power of God on their side. They were a mighty army. But they allowed the Philistines to have them to step out of the very source of the power that drove them, that gave them victory. The Philistines sent Goliath came forward and put the challenge out to them. I will come forward, and you send your best man forward. You send your best man forward. Israel wasn't great because it had a best man. Israel's army was great because it had God on its side. It had God promising them victory. So in being this great and mighty army, not because of its numbers, because God's already shown and proven time and time again that numbers really don't matter to him. But he can empower anyone to victory that he so desires. But the armies of Israel stepped out of their power, stepped out from under the power that drove them, that guaranteed, that promised them victory. They stepped out and they allowed a man to keep them at bay. One man. He was a giant, but he was one man. So as they're being held at bay by this one man, being taunted by one man, David, son of a shepherd, a shepherd himself, out tending his father's sheep, was called to bring lunch to his brothers. So David takes the lunch out there, and he sees Goliath. He hears Goliath taunting Israel. And David, this young man who's not old enough to be in the army, who's not old enough to fight, but in his years of experience with the Almighty, knows that this man shouldn't be out there saying those things about God, and his armies sitting there listening, being taunted, sitting in fear. He knows enough about that. But in the scriptures that were read, verses 45 through 47, then David said to the Philistine, "You come to me with a sword and a spear and a javelin, but I come to you in the name of the Lord of hosts, the God of the armies of Israel, whom you have defied." You're defying God. He says, "This day the Lord will deliver you into my hand, and I will strike you and take your head from you. And this day I will give the carcasses of the camp of the Philistines to the birds of the air and to the wild beasts of the earth, that all the earth may know that there is a God in Israel." In verse 47, "Then all this assembly shall know that the Lord does not save with sword and spear, for the battle is the Lord's, and he will give you into our hands." Everything that was going down, this battle that was supposed to be taking place, this war, confrontation, however you choose to categorize it, was supposed to be going down. Army against army. Army against army. When God was on the side backing the Israelites, no army could stand against them. No army could stand against the armies of Israel. Verse 45, he says, "But I come to you in the name of the Lord of hosts, the God of the armies of Israel." When Israel was mighty, it's because God had allowed them to be. God had empowered them to be. But here they were, cowering at the words of a giant, cowering at the presence of a giant. And David is just put off by that. He can't see and understand in his mind why the armies of Israel, who has a God on their side, backing them, why they're not out there not letting this man, why they're letting this man speak the way he's speaking. Why these armies are not overrunning. David's not out there, he's not put off because Goliath, I want to say Samson, because Goliath is out there saying bad things against the nation of Israel. That didn't bother David. That didn't rub David the wrong way. But he was out there speaking against the armies. God, speaking against God himself, saying, "Send out your best man. Send him out. Where is your God?" Saying all these things, taunting the armies of Israel. They know that God is on their side. They know that if they pray and if they do all things in accordance to how God told them to do it, that they are guaranteed victory. But they let the enemy take them out of their place of power. Verse 47. "Then all this assembly will know that the Lord does not save with sword and spear, for the battle is the Lord's, and he will give you into our hands." And there is the title of our sermon today. It is, "The Battle is the Lord's." Subtitle, "But we still have to fight." The battle is the Lord's, but we still have to fight. We're at war. We as believers, we're at war. We're in a warfare. Number one, as believers, we battle against our flesh. We battle against our flesh because our flesh wants to do things that are contrary to what the Word says. Our flesh wants to entertain things that we're not supposed to entertain. Our flesh wants to do things that are contrary to our spiritual growth. That's what our flesh wants to do. And it's not always a sin that our flesh wants to do. Sometimes our flesh wants to rest and not move when we should be up doing something. That's not a sin to rest. Sometimes our flesh wants to not exercise when we might need to exercise. I battle that one myself. I don't always feel like going out there and pumping the weights or whatever. My flesh doesn't want to do that. But my spirit has to know that this is good for the body. So we're going to go out and get it done. So the flesh, but the battle that we fight in the spiritual realm, it's the Lord's fight. It's the Lord's battle. Why? Because the enemy of God wants nothing more than for God's children. He can't take us away. He can't steal us away from God. He can't take us from being saved. Where the word says we're in His hand, and He can't snatch us out of God's hand. But in His dislike, His extreme dislike for God, if He can get God's children to question or to doubt or to fear, then He wins. He wins. He's won a battle. He's won that battle. The battle is the Lord's, but we still have to fight. We say the battle is the Lord's. It's the Lord's battle. It's in His name. The warfare that we're in, it belongs to the Lord. It's in His name, and it's in His name that we fight. We fight in God's name. Just like David said, we fight in God's name. We fight on behalf of the Lord of hosts. But I come to you, he said in verse 45, but I come to you in the name of the Lord of hosts. He didn't come in the name of the king. He didn't come in the name of the armies. He didn't come in the name of Israel. He didn't come in His own name. He didn't come in the name of His own Father. He came in the name of the Lord of hosts. Because Goliath hadn't done anything against David. He didn't say anything bad against David. He didn't do anything bad against David. He didn't take David's lunch. He didn't bully David in school. He didn't do any of that. Goliath and the armies of Israel were coming against Goliath and the armies of Philistine. The Philistine armies were coming against the nation of Israel. He says, I come to you in the name of the Lord of hosts, who is also the God of the armies of Israel, whom you have defied. We don't fight on our own behalf. The spiritual battle that we fight, we're not fighting on our own behalf. We're not fighting for our own survival. We're fighting for the kingdom of God. We're fighting for His name. We're fighting for the advancement. We're fighting because the enemy is fighting against God. We're fighting because the enemy is fighting against God. When I was growing up in high school, and there would be these times you'd be hanging out. One of your friends would come and say that he had just gotten into a fight, argument, or whatever with such and such person. So we're going to fight later. We're going to go over here, we're going to meet, and we're going to fight. Need you guys to come get my back in case he brings more people. So you got this group of people showing up to fight this other group of people. And the main two, they're going to fight. But this group is there to make sure that that group doesn't jump in. Okay? Because if one person jumps in, then this group's going to jump in, their group's going to jump in, and you got two whole groups fighting. But this guy's side, I'm going to call him Brian, fighting against this guy's side, who's Jeff. If you're not Brian or Jeff, you're not fighting your own fight. You're fighting on behalf of Brian. If you're on Jeff's side, you're fighting on behalf of Jeff. The battle's not yours. but you're fighting on behalf of Brian or Jeff. We're fighting on behalf of God. The battle that we fight, the battle is the Lord's. But we still have to fight. We're still required. Why are we required? Because He's our Father. We don't want anybody coming against our Father. We don't want the enemy to win and prevail against, even though he can't defeat God. He can't defeat God. He already tried and lost. So how does he get at God now? By turning God's children away from Him. He said He can't steal us, He can't snatch us out of God's hands. But if He can get us from, because we're supposed to be with our eyes on God, pressing towards God. But if He can get us just to be just a little bit off, then we're not headed towards God anymore. If He can get us to where we're questioning, to where we're doubting, to where we're about ourselves and not about God, if He can get us to that point, then He's won. And it doesn't take much. Doesn't take a whole lot. All He wants to do is get us a little bit off. We don't fight on our own behalf, but we do indeed fight. The battle is the Lord's, but we still have to fight. If you don't think so, if you don't think, this is David, and this is this is David and Goliath, and that was God doing that, and He manifested. Well, turn with me to Ephesians chapter 6. We know that God is not wasteful in what He does. He's purposeful in everything that He does. He has the cattle on 1,000 hills. God is all-knowing. Ephesians chapter 6. And all we're going to read right now is verse 12. Ephesians chapter 6, verse 12. It says, "For we do not wrestle against flesh and blood, but against principalities, against powers, against rulers of the darkness of this age, against spiritual hosts of wickedness in the heavenly places." It says, "For we do not wrestle against flesh and blood," which says that there's some kind of fight going on. Amen? It means that if we're wrestling, you can wrestle for fun. Brothers or friends can try to wrestle one another, but there's still a contest going on. There's still a battle. There's still a situation where somebody's going to triumph and somebody's going to fail. Somebody's going to win and somebody's going to lose. Even if you just play wrestling with somebody, you're not playing. You're still trying to pin them. You're still trying to win. You're still trying to get the upper hand. But here it talks about we do not wrestle against flesh and blood. If you can see it, it's really not the enemy.
Hallelujah.
If you can see it, it's not the enemy.
Thank you, Father.
Because that's why God tells us we walk by faith and not by sight.
Thank you, Father.
The enemy is trying to trick us. The enemy is trying to throw all these different things at us, to get us distracted. Remember, his goal, he can't defeat God, for one thing. He can't. Try and fail. Amen. Been there, done that, got the t-shirt. It says, I lost. Gonna lose again in the final battle. But the thing is, he can't beat God. Okay? Believers, he can't take them back. But if he can just get us to turn, remember? If he can just get us to turn a little bit. So his dislike for God is so much, he can't beat God. He can't take away what God already had. Well, you know what I can do? I can just get him to turn. Just get him to turn. Just that much. How does he do it? Verse 12 says, we do not battle flesh and blood, but against principalities, against powers, against the rulers of the darkness of this age, against spiritual hosts of wickedness in the heavenly places. We don't have to go into what each one of these is, because principalities are this and the host of wickedness in hell. It doesn't really matter. It's just breaking it down, letting us know. Because verse 11, the prequel, if you will, it says, but put on the whole armor of God, that we may be able to stand against what? The wiles of the devil. And the wiles of the devil are principalities, powers, rulers of the darkness of this age, spiritual hosts of wickedness in high places. All these things are the wiles of the devil. All these things are why God gave us spiritual armor. Why? Because the battle is the Lord's, but we still have to fight. Remember we talked about earlier, your friend comes and says, you know what, this person has wronged me, we're going to fight later, I need you to come, and so in case his friends come and jump in, we got them, and they're not going to jump me, they're going to jump us, and we'll be in there battling and fighting. Well, your friends, sometimes they're going to load up with something. One guy's going to grab a bat, another dude's going to axe handle, chain, knife, something like that. They're going to come. A lot of times they get there, they talk about, well, are we going to do weapons or are we going to do no weapons? No, we're just going to do fists. Okay, they've already decided. But the thing is, God doesn't send us into battle wondering what we're going to use as weapons. He doesn't send us in naked. He doesn't send us in uncovered. He doesn't send us in unprepared. Just like that king with David thought that he knew enough. The king knew enough that if David was going to go out there, he needed some kind of protection. Well, if you're going to go out there, I'm not brave enough to sidle up my armies and we go fight this whole army. I'm not somewhere, something is going wrong, inside my head that when we battle as one against the enemies of God, that God is going to give us victory, but I've now succumbed to the suggestion of the enemy that we fight one-on-one, a battle that we cannot win because they have a giant. So we've already succumbed to that. We're not going to fight that. We're scared. This little kid comes along, David. Well, we're not going to go fight him, but if you think you want to go fight him, here, let me put my armor on you. He knows enough to say, you know what? You need some kind of covering going out there. You need some kind of protection going out there. King knew that much. But David says, no, this was not made for me. This was not made for me. David grabs up his stones and he heads out there. He knows what God has already done in his life. He knows that God has delivered him from the paw of the bear. God has delivered him from the paw of the lion.
Amen.
And when he says deliver him from, that doesn't mean that the bear had David and God took David out of the bear's hand. That means he delivered him so that the paw of the bear never even came against David. Hallelujah. So that the paw of the lion never even came against David. David went and got his sheep and brought them back. Hallelujah. This little boy out there tending sheep. No bear, I don't think so. No lion, I don't think so.
Hallelujah.
My God says, not because of who he was, he knew who he was, but he also knew who God is.
Hallelujah.
He knew who God is.
Right.
And so here we are. The battle is not yours, but you're going to have to fight. God knows that the enemy is going to come, and he's got wiles that he's going to try to use against us. That's why he gives us each and every piece of that armor that he's given us. We won't go into the detail, but I'll read through the pieces. Therefore, put on the whole armor of God, that you may be able to withstand in the evil day, and having done all to stand. Therefore, having girded your waist with truth, the belt of truth, putting on the breastplate of righteousness, having your feet shod with the preparation of the gospel of peace, and above all, taking the shield of faith. The breastplate of righteousness. We got the helmet of salvation, the breastplate of righteousness, the belt of truth, the shoe, the feet shod with the preparation of peace. We got the shield of faith, and we have the sword of the word. We have all the implements of battle that we need. We have all the defense that we need. We can't defend ourselves against those kind of things. That's why the devil is. That's why he's clever. That's why he's cunning. We can't defend ourselves, but God has given us all the implements we need to defend against the wiles of the devil. The wiles of the devil, against the principalities, against the powers, against the rulers of the darkness of this age, and against the spiritual host of wickedness. Everything that God gives us, a breastplate of righteousness. Righteousness protects our chest. What's in the chest? Our heart. Our heart, our very heart, the very inmost, if you will, the place where Jesus dwells, where the Holy Spirit is inside of us, in our heart. For in the heart, from the heart, flow the issues, from the mouth flow the issues of the heart. The heart is protected by righteousness. If we walk in righteousness, our heart is protected. Our shield of faith. Our shield of faith, of knowing that nothing that comes against us, no weapons formed against us shall prosper. Our shield of faith that says, I know the thoughts I have for you, thoughts to prosper you and not harm you. Oh, the shield of faith, the belt of truth. The belt holds things together. The belt keeps things from falling down. Truth holds things together. Truth keeps things from falling down, keeps you from being exposed. Truth, what they did, because they had the tunics that they carried. So in their belt, they would grab the bottom of the tunic and they would tuck it into their belt. It would give them greater mobility. They could run. They could move around better. What is that called? Freedom. Truth. Freedom, the truth that you know,
Hallelujah,
will set you free, will give you greater liberty, will give you more mobility. Hallelujah. The truth that you know, Hallelujah. The truth that you know, you've girded yourself with it, you've put it around your waist, you've made it a part of what you wear. Hallelujah. You have adorned yourself with truth. If your belt is just hanging on the wall and you got pants on that don't quite fit right, what good is the belt doing you? Is it serving its purpose? No, it's not. Take that truth off the hanger. Put it on your waist and let truth do what truth does in your life. For we not battle against flesh and blood, but we battle against all those things. The wiles of the devil. The wiles of the devil. Everything, any little thing he can use to get us not to praise God, to get us to question, to get us to ask why, Lord, to get us to compare our situation to someone else's, to get us to do anything other than bask in his glory, to anything to get us to forget about everything that he's done for us already. The wiles of the devil. Anything that he can do to get us away from having our eyes on God. Anything that he can do, the wiles of the devil, and his entire arsenal is geared towards that. He's totally incapable of pointing us to righteousness. He's totally incapable of pointing us to righteousness. Why do we know that? Why do we know that? Because in the garden, where we had the tree of the knowledge of good and evil, and we had the tree of life, Jesus was the tree of life. If he could have gotten them to eat of the tree first so that they would live on, continue to live, and then eat, and put them in a state of sin, to disobey God, period, if he could have done that, if it were even possible, if it were in some way possible, that would have been the smart thing to do. But he can't do one single thing to point us in the direction of righteousness. If it's pointing us in the direction of righteousness, it can't be the enemy. It can't be the enemy. Because for as wily, for as cunning and deceitful as he is, he can't do a thing to point us in the direction of righteousness. All he can do is deceive. All he can do is try to trick us. All he can do is lie to us. All he can do is disguise himself. All he can do. That's all he can do. Knowing that, Knowing that. We, in our breastplate of righteousness, in our helmet of salvation, the helmet of salvation protects our mind. Salvation protects our mind. Because once we're saved, we know that we belong to God. We know that the enemy can't snatch us out of God's hand.
Amen.
This is the weirdest part. Enemy can't get in. He can't snatch us. He can't snatch us out of his hand. But for this awesome force field or whatever that might be around it, we can sure step out. We can sure step out. How was this demonstrated? Because the armies of Israel, who knew great victory, when they trusted God, when they said the battle is the Lord's, when they said we're going in, God is with us, we're going in, it doesn't matter. But they allowed the Philistines to send Goliath out there and say, you know what? Just send one man out. Just send one man out. They said, well, we don't have one man that's able to fight him. So if that's the way they're going to fight, we can't beat them. Instead of saying, you know what? Send your one man out. We're going to overrun him and all your people. Instead of saying, God has delivered you into our hands. Instead of saying that, which David did declare, instead of saying that and overrunning their armies, they stood back and said, the enemy with one man was able to take them out of their place of victory. They took their eyes off God and put them on a giant. They yielded to the words of the giant instead of the words of the Lord. Instead of what they already knew God to be able to do. Instead of relying on the victories that God had already given them in the past. We already know that God has delivered us. We already know David is speaking it. Speaking those things as not as though they were. He's speaking it. He is declaring it. God flipped from it. But he said, my God will deliver you into our hands.
Yes, he did.
He's saying, I'm going to cut your head off. I'm going to feed your carcasses to the birds of the air, to the beasts of the land. I'm going to do that. He's out there declaring. Whereas the entire armies are sitting back saying, man, we don't have a giant. We don't have anybody that can take him. Oh, no. So we're just going to sit here and not do anything. We're just going to sit here and let him taunt us. We're just going to sit here and let him say whatever he wants to say out there. And they were sitting there taking it. They were sitting there taking it. Here this young boy comes, shows them how to do it. The battle wasn't even David's because he wasn't even old enough to be in the army. The battle wasn't David's. But he sure went out and fought. He sure went out and got victory. The battle is not ours. It's the Lord's. The battle is the Lord's. But we're going to have to fight. We're going to have to fight. The enemy has purpose in his mind that he's going to do everything in his power to get as many believers as he can to doubt, to fear, to not trust God, to question God, to come at God with the wrong attitude. He's going to do everything in his power to do that. And he's going to attack us. He's going to attack us with big things. He's going to attack us with family members. He's going to attack us with the situations in our lives. Then he's going to attack us with small things. Like a person cut us off in traffic. He's going to attack us with small things like, ooh, that person looked at me the wrong way. That believer in church looked at me the wrong way. He's going to attack us with small things. Man, you know what? Pastor shook all their hands and did not shake my hand. Sup with that. Sup with that. He's going to use small things. Because actually, how do you split a piece of wood with a sharp axe? You don't use the broad end. You use that sharp, small end. And it drives and divides. Drives and divides. The weakest person can take an axe and split a piece of wood if you do it the right way.
That's right.
You just say, hit it the right way. Boom. It's going to split because that little narrow edge coming in with so much force. But God has equipped us.
Yes, he has.
He's equipped us for battle.
Yes, he has.
He's equipped us for battle. I think back to my time in the Air Force when we had to go through all these exercises and try to prepare us. We had to put on the Kim gear, and when it's 90 degrees in Okinawa and 85% humidity. Oh, we had to wear all that gear. We're sweating like crazy up in there, but it's preparing us for the warfare that might come. So that we've gone through this enough. We've practiced enough so that when battle comes, it's all about memory. Remembering what we've done in the past. Remembering the time of preparation that we went through way back then, that we would rather have not gone through. But now because we've applied ourselves, remember the things that we did back then. Now when we get in warfare, it's natural. We're not having to think, oh, the bomb is coming. What should I do next? You got to flip through a book and say, oh yeah, let me put on my gear. No. When those alarms go off and you're in the heat of battle, you're thinking, ooh, alarm. Let me put on my gear. I'm ready now. Now I'm ready for what's next. Ready for what's next. Boom! The explosion goes off. Now we got to go out. We got to check for unexploded ordinances. We got to go look for chemicals that might, be on the ground or anything. We're all geared up and all of that. We're prepared for that. God has already done, He's doing and has done the preparation. He's already let us know that we have that armor. We have to remember that we have that armor. Verse 11 says, put on the whole armor of God. The whole armor. Put on the whole armor. Not remember that you have it on, because we didn't wear our gear the whole time. But each time that we knew we were going into that war zone, that situation, we had to put that gear on. We have to gear ourselves up. That's us each morning as believers. As believers. We're putting on that armor every day. We know that the breastplate of righteousness is protecting our heart. Salvation, the helmet of salvation is protecting our minds. Our shield of faith is holding off fiery darts and arrows. Our belt of truth is holding it all together. Our feet shod with the preparation of peace allows us to walk wherever we need to walk without hurting our feet, our foundation. Feet shod. Our feet are our foundation. Our foundation is shod with the preparation of peace. Peace clothes. Peace prepares our foundation for where we must need to go. So we are prepared by God. We put in remembrance of the things that God has already done.
Amen.
To help us in facing the giants. But to help us in doing that. Because just as it helped David, because David, remember, you know what? I fought a bear and a lion. This guy's nothing. Because God allowed me to do that. So God will allow me to do this. We remember that God has brought us this far. He's kept us this far. We remember that the devil is using his wiles to try to get us to keep our eyes off of God. The devil's trying to do that, but we're prepared. We're glad. We're ready for the battle. Our sword. We got our sword. The devil can't beat God. Can't snatch us out of his hands. And if we clothe ourselves in the gospel, in the armor, if we prepare ourselves for the battle that we face every day, if we prepare ourselves for the battle that we face every day, we can fight victory. We fight from the standpoint of victory already. We fight from the standpoint of victory already. So therefore, all we have to do is remember that the battle is the Lord's.
Amen.
But we still have to fight. We're already prepared for it. We've been training. We've received the training. We've got the gear. Now all we need to do is walk in victory. Amen?
Amen.
Amen. Give God some praise.
Amen.
Because he is worthy and he is worth it.
Yes, he is.
All that